this and the next lecture, you will learn how to handle errors within our lambdas a little more gracefully. When a lambda service is triggered, either synchronously, asynchronously, or through streaming or polling, the way errors need to be handled will vary. In case of synchronous triggering or communication, the lambda service can handle that exception using try-catch block and return a nice error message back to the client which is expecting a response. Instead of HTTP 200, we can send a 404 or any other exception status code if it is a RESTful API and a nice little error message. But in case of asynchronous triggering, there is no upstream resource or component waiting for the response. That is where it can get tricky. We can have retries. That is number one way of gracefully handling errors in case of asynchronous communication. We will try it for 2 more times or 1 more time. And if it still fails because a downstream database is down or the data is incorrect, after even a couple of retries, if it is still not happening, we will log the exception and the lambda will be shut down. The lambda service can do that for us. But what if the downstream database is up after some time and we want to reprocess that event? That event is not there anymore. It's gone. That is where dead letter queues or destinations. There are 2 different options that AWS gives us. If you have worked with messaging like JMS, Java Messaging Service, or any other messaging service, you already know what dead letter queues are. They are used to store the event that was triggered after the retries happen. Before the lambda is being shut down, the event will be sent to a dead letter queue and it can be processed from there, or an appropriate action can be taken on that event once the error is resolved, if it is resolved. Or after some time, we can get rid of the event from the dead letter queue as well. We can configure all that. Or an even better thing, we can configure a lambda on this dead letter queue, which will take an appropriate action depending on the business use case. So that is how we can handle exceptions or errors gracefully in case of asynchronous communication. And in polling, it is a little more tricky, and AWS provides various failure handling mechanisms that you can explore. Before we conclude this, you are going to try out the dead letter queues, etc. in the next few lectures. Let me show you this retries. Every lambda function you create will automatically have a retry flag on it. Under asynchronous communication, if you scroll down all the way on the console, you will see a section called asynchronous invocation. See this? Here on the right side, you have retry attempts. By default, it will be 2. I have changed it to 0. If I edit this, see this dead letter queue. Here I have retry attempts to 2. Maximum is 2, 1 is the minimum value, and 0. If you configure it as 0, the lambda service will not retry at all. If you configure it to 2, first it will retry after a minute, and then it will retry after a couple of minutes. So all that will happen automatically for us. Even after those retries, if it doesn't work, if there is a dead letter queue configured, like here, it will go to that dead letter queue. It is very easy to configure a dead letter queue. In the template.aml, you can either define a queue or a topic. You can define a SNS topic or a SQS queue as a resource. Once that resource is created, within your lambda function where you want to use the dead letter queue on failure, see this dead letter queue attribute, you will be using that attribute and configure the SNS topic to which you want that event to be sent, and automatically that event will go there. And you can also define a error handling lambda function that will be triggered whenever there is a message on this dead letter queue you configure for your particular lambda. So all that in the next few lectures.